Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. And today we're going to take a look at Crown and Skull. Now, I understand Crown and Skull has been released for a while. And here on this channel, me being an old grognard, I don't really get caught up too much in the FOMO, the fear of missing out. There are some things that exist, and despite the years that have passed, I think they're still incredible to look at. And this is kind of a tangential nature of the not D&D series that I've been doing here on the channel. And I thought I would take a look at it. Also, this was sparked by the fact that the recent edition of Crown and Skull, the gold edition, did arrive, and it is the volume 2. My volume 1, unfortunately I can't seem to find, but I thought we would take a look at volume 1 and 2. And for those who are unfamiliar with or really didn't want to get caught up in the hype of Crown and Skull from Runehammer Games, I thought we would come over here, take a bit of a longer look at it, and have a discussion about something that isn't quite Dungeons and Dragons. All right, guys, please grab your snacks, put your feet up, and let's get past the intro and into Crown and Skull. Again, hello everyone. Maybe I need a little bit more light here. We're going to talk about Crown and Skull, and what I like to do is I like to highlight aspects of many of these tabletop role-playing games that we've described here on this channel, talked about here. I like to highlight some of the aspects of them, but first let's give a little bit of a history of this. If you're familiar with Index Card RPG, then you will absolutely know the personality behind Runehammer Games. And with the release of Volume 2, big, thick, chunky book here, although it's I'm going to say it's A5 size, 5.5 by 8.5 size, a literal pocket book. I will say that if you're afraid that he's left ICRPG behind and going on with something new, I will tell you that there's information in this book that his creative influences translate from one to the other. You'll see. We'll talk about it. So this is the gold edition. Kitties. Ribbon, gold, thick. There's about, let's see, what's the page count? 345. Very much, big chunkin' book, but strangely enough, it is a rules-lite game, and there's a little bit of there's quite a bit of a meta narrative, and of course, a big staple from Runehammer Games are roll tables and lots of sparks of inspiration with plenty of empty space for you to use. But first, if we can find something that is free to use or easy to dip into, I love to highlight those things. So here we have, of course, on the screen, Crown and Skull. I just have have it blown up, but we're going to go to the website and take a look at the website here. And yeah, which million subscribers if I could get them to sit still a little bit. They're youngish. Let's replace the screen here. Let's go over to Runehammer Games. So here, this is the website, and over here, matter of fact, you know what? I'll do it like this. Let's put you guys up here, and I'll tuck myself down in the bottom. And um, on the website, The Crown and Skull, of course, this is a game that has been lauded because of many of the, dare I say, innovations. Really, it's not innovations. There's something that uh, happens when masters of the genre of whatever it is, there's a complete circle. And usually what happens in that circle is that uh, a student knows nothing, an instructor tries to learn everything, and then a master gets rid of everything they've learned and narrows it down to only a few things. They start carving away at all of the other things. And one right here on the website, we do have something where we basically can create a character. There's a character generator. Really cool stuff. We'll get into the character generator in a minute. As a matter of fact, I'll click it now and show you what it looks like. It doesn't look like much of anything. There's the symbol, the logo, crown and skull, and then you click create a character and you're brought into the create a character web section. Strangely enough, this is the character sheet. I can show you a digital character sheet as well. Let me actually call that up here. Where is my character sheet? Player's guide. Oh, I can't find it. Anyway, it's not much to it. Sorry about that. There's not much to the character sheet, simply because the game doesn't have hit points and it doesn't have attributes. And so when you pick things for your character on this left side of this character sheet, basically all of that is it's the fluff part. I really hate calling it crunch and fluff, but it's your story elements and all the things that you need for your role playing. And then on the right side are the things that will make your character. And it uses something known as an attrition system. And the attrition system is basically this idea. Let me stop. Yeah. No hit points. Yeah. No hit points. Yeah, nothing like that. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted here because I want to show you something else. I'm not excited, but there we go. Let's show this off. The player's guide. Why the player's guide? Because it's free. So I'm going to switch this over to the player's guide. And this introduces you to the game. And of course, here we have ourselves. Of course, the logo, the beginning of the game and whatnot, and an introduction to what this game is. You can go to the website, and there's a number of places to get this free player's guide. It's 78 pages, and it is free. We're going to pop this as big as we can get. Now, how do you have a fantasy, a classic dark fantasy sword and sorcery game without hit points, and it's all player facing? And wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. Well, also there are no character classes as well, and the spells are pretty much freeform. Now, this isn't. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, that sounds like Fate or Powered by the Apocalypse or something, and it isn't. Here we have the table of contents, and in the player's guide, you can see that this light gray portion is not available because, of course, it has been removed. It has been removed so that the free player's guide is given to you, and this gives you just a little hint. But we will go to. Of course, we have the player focus, North holds, game flow. These are all the sections of the guide. And as I've pointed this out plenty of times with indie games, the the reason why the book seems to be a chunky mess, it's like a big thick book, is because it does the one and single page, double page layout that indie publishers have been attributing to. To be honest with you, it's probably because they're writing inside of their InDesign or their Affinity software, which actually encourages limits on word bloat and instead forces the writers to have to say, okay, how do I explain everything I need to explain in a 2-page spread? And so that's how you get games like Shadow Dark and, of course, this game, Crown and Skull. So we're going to go to making rolls, page 15. And essentially there's only really 3 rolls in this game. And it's a D20 system. So the D20 itself makes you very familiar. You go, wow, this sounds like, and I'm rolling a D20. It feels like fantasy Dungeons and Dragons. And so a flat roll, there are some times where you just call a flat roll. You just roll a D20 at or below the target number or opposing number. And as we get closer, you'll see on your character sheet, all you really need are a number of things that you can do. A number is assigned to it, and you roll a D20 to get it to roll that number or below, and that's it. There's a player declared skill rolls. Roll D20 at or below your skill, and then a called for defense roll. And you roll. Enemies don't make attacks. Basically, the enemy has a number, and then what you're trying to do is roll your defense roll against that. Roll at or below this value to avoid injury from incoming attacks. Pretty easy. And of course, in this game, this is another stress attrition game where there is no to hit roll in Crown and Skull. When you attack, you roll damage instantly. This roll can use a wide variety of dice. Add the total roll for damage inflicted. This roll can be reduced by an enemy stat called DEF or defense. And then, of course, there's a yes/no roll. Sometimes players, GM stuck. Is there a basement to the inn? Yes or no? And then you just roll a D6. 1, 2, 3. No. 4, 5, 6. Yes. That's it. And all that's just literally on one page. But the big thing in this game is the attrition system. First, let me see your comments here. Why don't you guys... Do you guys see when something disappears on the screen? Because it's very odd how this happens. Come on. Don't do this to me. Come on. There we go. Please tell me we're back up. We're back up and running. Okay. Okay. The attrition system is, in short, what is written on your character sheet are your hit points. If you have to use the word hit points. The attrition system, essentially, on your character, you will have written skills, and on the other side of the character sheet, wherever you want to write them, you'll have your equipment. And each one of those is a slot. It's like a pocket. It's a value on your character, and that piece of equipment, skill, I would even add to that companions like a pet or connections. What's not in the game, and I would add to this, I would even add like in-world role-playing elements given to the character. Maybe there's a connection or a deed to a castle or some kind of noble rank or what have you. All those things that are written on your character sheet are your hit points. And whenever you suffer harm, you mark off, you get to choose, well, there's exceptions to this, but essentially you get to choose what you lose through attrition. And that becomes your hit points on your character. And I think that's a really cool system. So sustaining damage from hazards and attacks is part of any RPG. You'll be hit by arrows, knock your head, sustain sword cuts, or drop items when exhausted. Attrition is a term for the reduction of your character's resources when hit by hazards and attacks. Here's how it works. Not in the game, but what I would add to this attrition system is it doesn't have to be your classic dungeon crawling hazards and attacks and exhaustion and attacks by enemies. It could be emotional loss. It could be loss through status and whatnot. And I think incorporating all that together would be kind of cool. When injured, cross off equipment and or skills, and that's essentially what happens. An enemy does 2 damage to you, you mark off 2 items. Yep, cross them off. When you're hurt, you'll be losing use of your skills and gear. Crossed off equipment and skills cannot be used until restored or repaired. Role play it. Attrition impairs your senses, physical wellness, or equipment beyond use. In some cases, items may be lost permanently, but skills are never permanently lost. A few simple rules govern attrition. And mind you, as was described in a number of Runehammer videos, like, if you role play into it, you could be like, you know what, I'm going to, my character lost his helmet, not because it was knocked off his head, but, I wanted to, it was blocking my view and I threw it down out of rage and waded into the attack or something like that. Also with the attrition system, you can decide to lose things that probably aren't that important at the time that you're being threatened. I've often used this as an example for like a shadowed vigilante in a dark Gothic city, right? Who's a orphaned playboy billionaire. I don't know what character I'd be talking about. You'd have to figure that out. But for example, being a playboy billionaire, like, playboy and billionaire might be 2 attributes on the character sheet. And though this individual is fighting enemies in a dark alley, could actually mark them off. Now, of course, that's having no effect at this immediate time in the combat of fighting some thugs trying to, rob someone. But when this character goes back to their regular life, they no longer have the ability to portray themselves as a playboy or a billionaire. And so through role play, maybe it's because of being a vigilante and having fights as a urban ninja in dark alleys probably has some impact on your business life and your social life as well. And so that's how this game works. There's 5 types of attrition. There's basic attrition, basically cross off any one equipment or skill. And of course, this probably happens the most often, especially if the players are like traveling and things like that. You mark off something, maybe you drop your rope or a torch or your persuasion skill because you're just pissed off or something like that. There's flesh attrition, like randomly. Sometimes there'll be a random selection of a skill, and then you just got, better close your eyes and hope the thing that you really want doesn't get lost. There's equipment attrition, usually, especially with monsters or events where something is trying to snatch something from you. You get your classic rust-like monster that wants to go after your equipment, or maybe you fall into a pit and a piece of equipment is broken. There's destroy attrition, and destroy attrition is where you lose it permanently. Destroy 1 random equipment and cross off 1 randomly selected skill. Destroyed equipment is permanently lost. And then there's brutal attrition, cross off 1d6 total random equipment and skills. And in volume 2 of Crown and Skull, he does have a best practice where he's like, and a lot of these creators will do that. They'll go back, John Harper went back and produced Deep Cuts for Deep Cuts, a collection of rules modifications for Blades in the Dark. And even he went in and was like, yeah, if you want to change the wound system or recovery system, here's how I would do it from having years of practice. And Runehammer did the same thing. Like, if you think these attrition types are a little bit too much, it's like, nah, you could just kind of make it basic and just go like, just make it cross off 1, cross off 1d4, cross off 1d6, etc. And as threat levels increase. Again, total inventory. All characters are allowed 10 skills and 10 items in their inventory maximum. All small items are counted as a single pouch item. So small items might be like coins, right? That's just in one pouch, or arrows might be in one pouch together, and that's just through adjudication. Healing and repair. Upon a successful heal, like by magic, potion, or first aid, restore one crossed off skill. For damaged equipment, use repair or armor or skill. Destroyed gear will need to be replaced entirely. And of course, this is definitely a role-playing kind of thing. Like, does the player have time to heal up? Are they taking the time to both heal and repair something? And so it's not just, I wake up and all my hit points are back. You kind of have to take steps to heal yourself. And of course, that is definitely a role-playing thing. Then there's rest and recovery and death. You take a breather. Yeah, regain a combined 1d4 of equipment and skills with a night's rest and safety. Additionally, after each scene in play, once safety is found and no enemies or timers are coming, and you guys, if you're familiar with clocks and timers, that could prevent you from getting that really cool rest and recovery. You can take a breather, regain one equipment or skill, catch your breath, ready to go on. And then lastly, death. If a hit can't be absorbed by inventory, you take a hit to the heart and will die at the end of the next phase 5 unless healed. And then go into phases. But that's the heart of the game. And then we'll get into the character creation system. Oh, let me go into a 2-pager here. And this talks about phase. Oops, let's see. And again, indie publishing, 2-page system. Attrition is the heart of the game. The phase system it's a little bit different in the sense that creatures go on phases, and players can choose to go on different phases based on what they wish to do. So there is an initiative system, kind of, and you can play the system, but you can also, like, if you go too fast, you can put yourself in a phase where other creatures then get to, like, because they're acting twice or maybe even 3 times on a lower phase, the monsters or enemies or adversaries could double up on their phases after you go. You talk about hit points and extremes, but essentially that's the heart of the game, and then we'll get into another part. It eventually goes away, but it seems to leave your screen first. Oh, yeah. I try not to have too many windows open, but if I'm looking through like a PDF, my streaming software goes away. Yeah. No one would believe an orphan playboy billionaire would fight thugs at night in a costume. What's next? A god amongst men who slouches to avoid being noticed as he writes newspapers? Yeah, exactly. There's an old early 90s, early 2000s Superman comic where Lex Luthor like hires a bunch of people to find Superman's identity, and then the scientists that he gets, the investigators, are like, we think it's Clark Kent, and he's just like, you're idiots! There's no way a god would hang around men and be a mild-mannered reporter. Get out of here! You're all fired. Yeah, it's pretty funny. So, Crown and Skull. So let's go to the website, and I will show you what a character class is like, and then we'll get into Volume 2, which really opens. I don't know if I would almost guess that there would be some people who are might be a little taken aback a little bit by what has been introduced into Volume 2. But if you're familiar with Runehammer, you're like, oh, I know why he went there, because that's what he does. So character creation is a point-buy system. So unlike Dungeons and Dragons, you can absolutely positively create your character in the manner in which you'd like. So you can pick your skills. It is all point buy. It is all like a skill system. And so down here, someone created a character creation system. So we are going to put a name in here. We're going to put what's a good name? How about Dragus? So our character name is Dragus, and we are going to roll randomly for lineage. Lineage is like the old species or something like that, and we're going to roll randomly. Roll to 17. Cool. So a green frogkin, light green folk 4 to 5 feet high who squats often. So mind you, we can trash it. Go ahead, collect it, whatever. You can read through these. It's a D20 roll, but all of these have just a little bit of flavor to them. So equipped with, let's click the D20. Equipped with a many-pocketed great cloak. Your odd interests make this critical. This is very, of course, Runehammer game, very OSR. So a small item might seem innocuous at first, but if you are creative with its application, it could help you out. Let's see. It all started with, and let's roll a D20. Roll a 9. The crops failed. I was chosen to find the evil cause of the blight. Okay. Frog person. But now and we're going to roll a D20. But now I have joined the rebellion. Those who topple the bloated fools in power are my allies. Our lives are the weapon they cannot deflect. So you got to fight evil. Of course. Very cool. Hometown, we're going to hit select and roll a D20. And mind you, it's a D3. Oh, it's only a D3. Okay. Hometown from roll to 2. Rivergate, bustling trade city. Okay. In the Crown and Skull first and second volume books, there is, I want to call it a meta narrative. So it's not only just like, I want to call it fluff in the margins. He specifically have these 1 and 2 page spreads called the Leaning Stone. And the Leaning Stone is basically like a short story. And as you navigate through his books, there are capitalized elements in it. So you might not just find a sword, you might find a sword from Stonehaven or something like that. And so it kind of gives you a little bit of knowledge. And he self-admittedly is like, there's a bit of a novelization going on in the background. It's not that intrusive, so I don't think you'll find that hard to find. Flaws, going to click a flaw here. Roll to 3. Ancient, you are old. Muscle, jump, climber, breakfall, and stealth skills may not exceed 9, but you earn respect for your advanced age. I don't know. That might be, that's kind of cool. All right. So here is all the rest of it was story element, but here is how you make a character. You pick a core ability, and a core ability, if you want to go back to classic Dungeons and Dragons, is like a character class ability. So you can pick any core ability you like, and we're going to click that level here, and you can choose any one you want. Anything from like, there's 20 of them, and of course with the other volumes you get more options, but you get to pick one, and it costs 15 hero points. So it's basically you have 50 hero points, and because I picked a flaw, there's actually at 55 at the very top of this broadcast here. But you can pick Battle Master, Brutal Fighter, Druid, Empath. Let's go down further. Paragon of Faith, Uncanny Shot, etc., etc. Right? So we're going to roll D20. Roll to 6. Mountaineer, a master of finding ways through rock and cavern. Gain the climber skill and breakfall skills at 10. In Mountain or Underground, you also have a scout skill of 15. Now let's see what it does on the character sheet. Ooh, it didn't add it. Because I'm ancient. Let's see if I get rid of that. go back to skills. Let's edit skills. Let's roll for some more skills. You rolled a 35. Oh, there's some more skills down here. Spell researcher. Oh, okay. Let's roll 2 more times. And we're going to go back to the character sheet. And all right, so what is the character sheet? So right now we have Breakfall, Climber, Spell Research, Stealth, and Medical. Those are your hit points, and they are also your skills. You roll your d20 and you want to roll below them. So, of course, having a 3 in Spell Research, Stealth, or Medical, you really don't want. And if you notice, there's no strength stat, there's no dexterity stat, there's nothing like that. So, essentially, you want to like use your points and increase these to any levels that you would like. And let's get Breakfall up there, maybe a 12. I like the Stealth up there, maybe make that 12 or 13 or whatever. And as you notice, you see my points remaining are 0. So it is very difficult to like power game this. So maybe you want to bring some of these down. Oops, let's bring these down a bit. And you can also pick equipment. Remember, because your skills are your basically attrition, your equipment is the same thing. So let's get some basic items here. We're going to click the D20. A backpack was added in for 6 points. Ooh, I ran out of points. Let's lower this down here. Let's lower spell research down a bit. Let's go back to equipment. Let's get a weapon. And a short bow was added for 1 point. Let's get another weapon. No armor. Walking staff was added. Cool. All right. So again, here's our character sheet. We have to the left, we have little bits and bobbles for who we are, where we came from, and whatnot. But on the right side is your character sheet. We have a core ability as a mountaineer. We have some skills listed in. We can get rid of some of these, trash them, add them in. We are using a D20 and we want to roll equal to or below our skill level. And then we have equipment as well, a backpack, a short bow, a walking staff. There's even spells and companions you can pick. But this is the game. That's it. Now, are there modifications to these skill rolls? Because some of these skills will be very low, sure. Or we can start, trashing some of this. Maybe let's get rid of spell research. We get some points left in here. Let's pick a spell. Vanish was added to your spell book for 5 points. And Light Heal was added to spell book. If you're not familiar with ICRPG and some other games, that especially in the OSR, that spell casting very many times or more often than not is not limited to only spell casting classes. Essentially, you just have a spell book and you can read from it, or you can call it whatever you want, like a spell book or a scroll or a gemstone or something like that. And you may have the ability to cast some spells. But the long and short of it, oops, let's go back to. It all started with a fifth of Jack and a snowblower. Don't tell me the end of it is visiting the emergency room on that one. Don't tell me that. All right. So I'm going to stop screen sharing this. So essentially, that's Crown and Skull. That's the big of it. You have a bunch of things written on your character sheet. There are numbers next to it. You want to roll a d20 equal to or below. Of course, there's modifications. Whether something is easy or hard, then the game master then adds, or you get to add to your requisite skill to do a thing, or you get to subtract from it when it's difficult. Add to it. Hey, it's easy. Subtract, difficult. But we have Volume 2 here. And why would there be an over 300-page book for Volume 2? Well, that is because much more has been added. Let's go to Volume 2. Much more has been added to the system, including background and other things. Add to here. And we are in volume 2 now. Now, of course, this is the PDF. You're not going to see the gold, the gold filigree and all that kind of business, but you will see. Matter of fact, you know what? Let's make it a one-pager so we can get to. We can look at the contents, and when we look at when we look at this, you're going to go like, "Wait, what?" So we have our simple things, the things that we are used to seeing. Volume 2 is very much a player's guide, although there's a big chunk of stuff here for the GM, and for the player's guide, we have things like concepts and content, basically how to play your character, maybe some best practices. But we do get into something about an age of dragons. Dragons are introduced, dragon riders, a whole big section of using dragon body parts, preferably dead dragon body parts, for various things. We have dragon crowns and dragon skulls in the age of dragons, and even a lineage of dragons when we get into it. On the right side here, we have the GM's guide about simplifying things. Monsters that are fixated and enraged. So when you get confused, or maybe adjudicating monsters can be a little bit difficult for some new players, where it's like, do I use meta knowledge to have an adversary say, go after the spellcaster? Do I have a monster continue to chomp down and chew on the player character that's down? Like, what do you do? And so here's an option on having enemies that are fixated or enraged. Now, it sounds like fixated. Come on, I'm trying to highlight one thing. So it sounds like fixated and enraged are the exact same thing, but they're not. Fixated is basically an enemy that is fixated on one thing. It could be stealing a gemstone. It could be escaping down a hallway. It could be destroying the evil wizard because they don't like wizardry at all. It could be elves or something. And of course, you want to foreshadow all of these things. But an enemy could be fixated. A ghost could be fixated on someone who is of this particular bloodline, or there's an enemy that's a rival of one of the PCs, and they are fixated on that one. Now, enraged is basically like a berserk rage, and even an enraged monster may even strike at its own allies, or become unreasonable in terms of blind in its desire to go after. And an enraged monster may be getting more difficult and cause more damage, and so running away might be the best bet. Here we talk about the GM best practices, skills versus saves, playing to the camera, and some other best practices as well. Always split the party, which is kind of a funny thing. The big picture, guarding the book. Down below we get into a lineage of dragons. It does look like one word. It looks like a lineage is actually one word, but it actually is a lineage of dragons. Talks about adding dragons into the meta narrative of this world, the names of the dragons, what do those dragons represent. But we have over here the Starfarer. Yes, there are moons and other planets in this world, and yes, high technology has just been introduced into the world of Crown and Skull. And you may be thinking to yourself, really? Like, where'd that come from? But if you're familiar with Runehammer, you'll know. So we're going to flip through this book, and then I'll get to your comments in just a minute. Wait a minute. There we go. Okay. All right. There we go. Furthermore, in the table of contents, in the table of contents, out to our second page, we have a Starpoint Citadel, which is basically a space station that our fantasy characters can can investigate, and there's some detail about that. Furthermore, there's more information about this world of the Northlands and the fantasy part. And then, of course, at the very end, we have our tables of treasure, rare books and things like 100 villages, 100 dragon rumors, 100 dragon minions, etc., etc. And really cool. Matter of fact, we'll go to page 312 while I talk to you guys. And get to some of your comments here. Rare books. Oh, that's right. I forgot about the... If you're familiar with ICRPG, you've seen this before from Runehammer. A 2-page spread of D100 villages, including the name of the village and a small detail about that. Like number 65. Coal miners live here in blocky stone huts, grumbling about taxes. Or above that, Seamet, a village of clever leather workers and their teacher, Tom Seamet. Or number 75, Stone Toe, a rough and tumble village of frontier folk who dislike visitors. Or Cabin Town. It's a unique name, Cabin Town. Log-built homes range along a rocky ridge. Cozy. And this is a staple of the OSR as well. Just one line of, a few words that mean something, and then just build off of that. You don't need much more than that especially as something to spur your have a creative spark. And of course, when you have these tables, there's nothing on a random table that says to you that you must use it exactly as it is and never change anything. You could roll on this and go, I don't like that, but because in my world, it's actually on a coastline and this says it's in the mountains, but I'm just going to change it. And you just do that on the fly. Or you could literally do that during session prep. Not in Yeah. I'm liking these very specific minimalist games. Yeah. And mind you, again, these games aren't for everybody. So I'm not suggesting that these are the best things in the world. But what I love is someone who's taken the design aspect and going, how can we get rid of this? How can we get rid of as much insignificant things in the way to get to what we really want to get to? And so by making the skills and equipment on your character, your attrition, your hit points, means that players are going to have to make some hard decisions sometimes about what they're going to lose. And it's a constant churn of what do we think is valuable right now? What do we think is valuable in the future? Every time a player writes a new thing on their character sheet that wants to make them a badass becomes a threat to everything that they encounter. So when a player writes down a noble lineage on their character sheet, that is also something they can get rid of. Now, Runehammer has pointed out the fact that some power gamers might want to put down I'm carrying 18 candles and just marking off a candle every time they get hit as if to make them random hit points. But the problem with that, why that doesn't work for a power gamer, if you're trying to min-max the hell out of the game, is if all you're doing is carrying around candles, that means you're not carrying other things. That means you are not, you're taking the place of a skill that you may need, or it's taking the place of a valuable item or magical item or something of value that you want. So just loading up on torches and candles so that you can toss them away because that's going to be your hit points is not very smart. But I suppose you could do it that way, but I don't know, why not? All right, so Crown and Skull. Let's go back to the website. Matter of fact, I wonder how much this costs. Let's replace this with the Runehammer games. He lives in He's got a brick and mortar store in my old hometown of Philly. I'm going to have to go back there and visit it at some point. But anyway, here, this is the, this of course is the website, and let's go to the shop. Let's see how much this game is. Let's order ourselves some Crown and Skull. So Runehammer shop. This is current. The gold edition is 80 US. Pretty expensive, but I mean, we all know about printing costs and tariffs and things like that. That's going to be a big deal for some Kickstarters and backer kits that are coming up in the next year or so. There's going to be a lot of transitions, and for people who are not familiar with it and they just want their product, I think there are going to be a lot of surprises as well. But that's the gold edition. Where is there a basic edition? Let's go to the basic edition. Yep, basic edition, $50, 50 US. I think there's some other things too here. Let's go to the shop. Let's go directly to the shop. I thought I saw some like socks or something like that. So featured products, volume 1 and volume 2. There we go. Runehammer socks, $20. So silly. Easy D6 Book of Quests. I worked with him. Here we go back into the Index Card RBG Masters Edition and Collector's Edition. Ooh, the Collector's Edition, 75 US. I wonder how big that is. Foundry VTT Premium Kit, T-shirt, maps. I know that Crown and Skull takes place in the North Holds. So here we have our map. Elfheim map, that's cool. Doom Vault, I didn't realize, made maps of all those. That's kind of cool. Bunch of the PDFs, of course. Easy D6s out there. These are the junked PDF, hard suit. That's all from ICRPG. All right. Merchandise. Cool. All right. Oh, there's the hammer. Hammer and the hero coins. Okay. Let's go back to the main page and we'll have a discussion. There we go. PDFs are definitely going to get a lot more popular. I wonder if we would tolerate ordering I bet the PDFs are going to come out faster with some of these backer and Kickstarter kits, and I wonder if there will be like an acceptance of a delay on physical books if we get the PDFs early, right? Because it's possible, I doubt it, but it's possible that some of the shipping costs might come down, or at least some designers will be able to use overseas production, so you don't have to ship them overseas at all. You could just have them printed out, or at least printed out at home at your own cost. So that might be another thing that's going to happen as well, where it's like, yeah, you can buy it for $15, but you get the PDF, you get it for $15, but if you want print on demand, you have to pay the cost, and the print cost could be 12 US, it could be 27 US or whatever, and it might just be on us to do that. You may get a print, an at-cost print code or something for like a Drive-Thru-RPG. I've gotten books that way through Drive-Thru, where someone's like, yeah, I've got the book and I've got the PDF and it's on Drive-Thru, but if you want the print on demand, you got to pay for it yourself, and here's the code to get it at cost. And then so you just put in like the $12, you get the email code and you click it, and Drive-Thru gives you the permission to do that. Maybe that might be more common. Oh, there is a company that will print out your PDF for you. There are a number of them. I want to say one's called like Lulu or something. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to look it up. But yeah, that may be a thing. So, Crown and Skull. Why bother even thinking about Crown and Skull? And I think the reason for first of all, the popularity. Runehammer himself is a character, so character personality is cool. He's also a consummate designer in the public space, and being a person who likes to talk about his own problems and issues and design mechanisms and having fun and what happened in our gaming session and things like that. Much like Matt Colville and some others that are designers in the public space, like they like to trip and fall on their face in front of people and let you see what they're doing. I think that's also a great draw for people who also want to become designers as well. Spook says, I've seen PDFs as an early release on a lot of Kickstarters. It's not a bad idea, especially with so many people moving to online gaming. I agree. I think the like you put up Foundry, a lot of the virtual tabletops I think are going to get a lot more attention, especially if these books start increasing by 25 to 50% in price to get the physical ones sent to you. I think a lot more of those might be coming up. Also having digital, some of the larger games that have been released, like for example, like here, this isn't big, but just having Runehammer have a character creation, a digital character creator, Roll20 and a lot of those where a game comes out, but they also say we have digital assets, not just the PDF, but the assets themselves, I think might become more popular. I think third-party creators who can help small indie publishers create digital assets will also, I think, grow as well. So someone who can say, hey, I can make a character generator for you, or I can make an interactive map for your game, or hey, what's a good way to say this? There are like gaming cards you can give to your players. Like, hey, we can clip this out of your 200-page book and make it a 17-page player, free player guide, and we can do that, make it a digital thing. I think a third-party person that can do that for someone might become a lot more popular as well. Well, yeah, Mateo says, I have no physical books, just all PDFs because it's not practical to have stuff shipped to my location. And listen, great that I live here in the States, but I get it. It's like I've gotten books from overseas because you guys know, like I just received my Break, my hardcover, slipcover tabletop role-playing game Break, because it ends with an exclamation point. But yeah, I've received Break, and you talk about expensive, right? I have my Thingonomicon, and what's the other Nomicon from Raging Swan Games. They're a little bit pricey as well. So having it being able to have it printed in the States is really good. But I get it, if you're a consummate PDF person. So yeah, I can see PDFs growing. My only problem with PDFs, and just because I'm a Dead Tree enthusiast, I like holding a thing in my hand, and digital content sometimes to me can wash over me and not establish itself in my head like I can when I open up a book to a page and I feel the weight in it. And I think there's a little bit of like muscle memory, as well as like there's a smell to books, there's a physicality to books, there's a sound that happens with a physical book that some of us are attached to. And at first I used to be like, no, maybe I'm just an old man, and I just, but I've got a whole boatload of PDFs, And sometimes those PDFs are like, they wash over me, and I'm like, oh, I forgot I had that. I have to go back in and dig into it because I just forget that I even have it. Yeah. You're see, here's the you just brought up the secret sauce there. So it says, is it that much of a stretch to play a head game with no rules where you just make everything up as you go along? Maybe throw in a few dice rolls? To be honest with you, that's what all role-playing games are. And I think it's a little bit ridiculous when we start having these like addition wars and stuff. Because if you really think about it, it's all up in the head anyway. I mean, yes, we've got minis and maps and lore and books printed and whatnot, but it's really just a bunch of random polyhedrals with a bunch of make-believe in between, which is why, like rules-lite games, some of us old grognards, we do our complete circle, where you begin at the top of the circle as a youngling, you don't know anything, and eventually your awareness starts to grow and it starts to incorporate so many different types of, I don't like one type of dice rolling mechanic over another one. I don't want firearms mixed with my magic. I don't like alignment and hit points, and we get to all that kind of stuff. And then it goes in this big circle where we learn so much that we find out that there's too many things that we don't know. So we go from wanting to know everything to there's no way I can know everything. And then we start going down to the bottom of that circle where we start carving away and excising it. We start cutting the crust off the bread until you come down to a thing where it's like, you know what? As long as you give me a couple of dice and we're all in the same headspace and we're playing the same head game, I really don't care. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, I love all the different mechanics, but I don't have a favorite mechanic because I really don't care. I like the creative sparks in it. Like I have a tabletop role-playing game based on like homelessness and using pocket change. Like, that's really cool. I really like that. Ever hear Andrew's story about running RPGs in jail with guys who never played D&D or anything? To give you a little, I don't want to blast out one of my childhood friends, but one of my childhood friends went to jail, and he played Dungeons and Dragons in jail. And you would be surprised at the creativity of people in jail and how they make role-playing games. So for example, many of them don't have access to the books. Like, they can't get the books in jail. Some can actually order books and have them delivered to the libraries and have whole role-playing sections in libraries. But on the other hand, some of them have actually written whole rule set on toilet paper. Now, you might say, well, how do they do dice? A lot of times they're not allowed to have dice and they're not allowed to gamble. So they will carve dice out of soap. They will do he says that I'm going to call my friend M. He saw them make dice out of paper, and they would fold and tape and glue it together. And they actually made 20-sided dice out of folding paper together and then rolling it that way. But he said the most common one that he did was either they would do they take a thumbtack and a spiral card and write numbers on it and spin it, or they would take sheets of paper or cardboard of similar sizes, or like coins or anything like that, and put it in a hat and put numbers on it. So if you had a D20, you have 20 of them in a hat, you shake it up, pull one out, and that would be a number. But yeah, pencils are very common as well. So you take a pencil and you write numbers on the pencil and you roll the pencil, and then like a pencil with like 6 sides on it would be a D6 and things like that. So yeah, role-playing is huge in jails. Huge, because guess what? Role-playing is escapism. Yeah. Neighbor says, I've heard a little bit of the jail D&D, and I'm very interested in hearing more. There's also a movement for using D&D as a therapy tool that's interesting to read up on. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Let me do something. Here, see. Let's look up. Here we go. Here, I looked up. I typed in D&D in jail, and we have. I'm going to share this out here. Let's take a look at this. So, here is an article from Vice. How inmates play tabletop. Come on, don't do this to me. Pop-ups. How inmates play tabletop RPGs in prison where dice are contraband. It's kind of cool. It may sound like a strange juxtaposition, hardened, tattooed offenders donning the cloaks of fantasy characters. Yet both former inmates and correctional officers agree, D&D is more common in prison than you might imagine. Here we go. According to Micah Davis, a former inmate and dungeon master imprisoned in Texas, we had our own table in the day room. That's saying something. Aryan Brotherhood table, Mexican Mafia table, Black Eye table, and D&D table. Here we go. D&D has become so widespread, some correctional facilities even have specific rules that address it. For example, if you are unlucky enough to become incarcerated in the Idaho State Correctional Institution, you are probably not going to be passing your time rolling D20s. From the Correctional Institute's 2014 handbook, which is funny, 2014, right? The following activities are prohibited. Participation in any of these prohibited activities will result in disciplinary action. Horseplay, gambling or games of chance, manufacturing of dice, dominoes, chess sets, cards, or any other form of games, role-playing games, e.g. Dungeons and Dragons. Wild. It's... yeah. Where is it? Even in states where RPGs are allowed, restriction on the use of dice can complicate gameplay. In an effort to crack down on gambling, most correctional facilities in America don't allow offenders to use or create dice. Yet, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. Necessity and, as the case may be, boredom. In their efforts to circumvent the ban of dice, prison players have come up with a variety of ingenious ways to make rolls. Everything from making the illicit dice themselves, to designing intricate spinners out of batteries and paper clips, And there we go. Yeah, my friend told me about these paper printing, like cardboard, not printing, but creating cardboard paper dice with glue or tape on the inside and folding it inside. Yep. Pencils, rolling pencils, stubs, erasers, things like that. Pencil stubs and colorful plastic pieces serve as miniatures. Handmade dice. Sweet. Cool. This stuff is cool. Let me see if I can get some images up here as well. See if we get some. Oh well, that's not good. Sorry. Oh well. There we go. I'll throw this back up here. And then then I'll let you guys go because we gotta get out of here. Come on. Here we go. I also heard about guys playing D&D in the army with no materials at all, not even dice. They were talking about drawing straws and tossing matchsticks as a random roll mechanic. Oh, military is huge in tabletop role-playing games. Yeah. Andrew, Woodwell was talking about playing with guys in jail who had no idea what D&D even was. It was like interactive storytelling. Instantly made him the most popular inmate. Wow. Yeah, that's cool. That reminds me to write a section about how to play my Heartbleed system with using hands instead of dice, as in rock, paper, scissors. You know what? Damn it, Drew. Okay, so I often wondered So we often communicate. I communicate with my hands a lot. I sometimes consciously have to stop my hands from doing the from doing the the gesticulation thing where I'm using my hands a lot. But I wonder if online gaming could be done using hand signals as traits for your character. So like you could pick like 2 or 3 hand signals that represent what your character could do, and then instead of having initiative and rolling dice and things like that, that one hand signal means that you're doing a thing, but another hand signal, like rock paper scissors but more complicated, could interpose or mitigate or stop a thing. So like we have a lot of like thumbs up, circles, heart shapes, the fictional gun, the Spock thing with the fingers, a fist, an open palm, like stop in the name of love, right? An open palm, like you're giving something, or you're handing, or you're receiving something. I mean, there's all kinds of like weird hand signals, and I wonder, without a character sheet, could you do like an online game where everyone's like, here's like 27 hand signals. It doesn't have to be that many. You could basically pick a dozen, and you get to pick 2 or 3, and that becomes your character. You make a personality, blah blah blah, and like my character is the warrior, and you hold up a fist while you're online gaming, and someone's like, oh, okay, so you're the fighter. You punch the guy in the face, or you use your sword, or you blah blah blah, stuff like that. Just be kind of cool. Is horseplay innuendo? Easy now. Easy. Correctional facilities want to prevent a jailhouse hierarchy from being formed. That's why they would prohibit any form of gaming, even RPGs. No rules, interactive storytelling can get around this. Yeah. Which is weird because prisons want to stop gambling. I get why they want to stop that, because then you start talking about values and debts, and you really don't want that, because people often get into debt, and then you encourage gambling as an addiction, and role playing kind of falls in that tangentially. But why do we always see prison yards with like lifting weights and stuff? Like, you would think you would not want these dudes to get bigger and stronger to work out their aggressions. But like, you can't stop them from doing push-ups and sit-ups, great, but like, I don't understand the whole idea of putting out free weights. It's like that would be like I don't know, that's just, to me, that's just backwards. Like, you would think you would want to give them a whole lot more books and a whole lot of like meditation time, rather than like, here's some free weights so you can get stronger and tougher. I never understood that. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for allowing me to just show Crown and Skull. I didn't go into a extremely deep dive into it. There are other channels who've done far better page through overviews with Crown and Skull. But I will say the big thing about Crown and Skull that makes it not D&D is like no hit points, no alignment. It's just like, hey, what you have is what you are, and just a couple of dice rolls added to it, and you're done. And it actually is pretty brilliant. If you think about it, it kind of tells its own story, especially when the players themselves are making the hard choice of what attrition happens to their character. And I know that lastly, I know there's a lot of games that have a no roll to hit, instead you're just suffering damage rolls. And I look at that as stress systems, not necessarily no miss systems. So it's not that you're just automatically hitting. What's happening is there's a lot of missing going on, but each side is getting stressed and worn down. And so the to hit roll is what happens between the misses. So there's a bunch of like not hitting, dodging, parrying, and then boom, then the person gets hit. Whereas for me, I look at it like jazz, and the attrition system of, especially in Crown and Skull, is the player deciding themselves what happens to themselves. It's almost like a wound system, but you get to choose what kind of wounds you suffer. And I think it's pretty interesting. It's actually kind of brilliant, to be honest with you. Yeah, weightlifting in prison. The conspiratorium talks about the prison industrial complex deliberately allowing inmates to emerge as super criminals so they can keep the whole cycle going. Cha-ching! Yeah. It's like what is it? Recidivism? Recidivism. Yeah, recidivism is the tendency of a convicted criminal to reoffend. And in order to keep the complex going, we need those recidivists to be strong and healthy. So we need them to lift weights so they can keep doing free labor, I guess. Methinks I'm going to have to include this in a Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. I got to listen to a 2-hour podcast about a number of creators who are created role-playing games based around anime. Break is one of them, or let me repronounce that. Break is a tabletop role-playing game. I think it took 10 years in the making. There's also another one, Fabula Ultima, the creator Fabula Ultima, and a bunch of other people had gotten together, and they did a little YouTube podcast. I was like kind of cool about that. And they were talking about like what is a next-gen tabletop role-playing game and how their influences came from video games and anime. And I thought, I think I have a couple of tabletop role-playing games that are anime-based, so I might even talk about that. Yeah, ever heard Ice-T talk about how hardcore gangster rap glorifying low-down violent crime being deliberately promoted? Yep, to flourish in the mainstream music industry for the prison industrial complex. Oh yeah, oh, that's a big thing, right? And then, and the problem, the ironic problem of glorifying criminalization of gangster hip-hop music is that either you are one of these people who engages in this activity, in which case you're not too bright to get your ass out of it, or you're faking that you're into it, in which case you're drawing undue attention to yourself to have to prove your street cred in an industry where all you're really trying to do is make music and make money. So you're either faking it to pretend like you're into it to make other people think you're into it, or you really are into it, in which case either way it's pretty ridiculous, right? So yeah, it's I've heard it's like high school too. Here in the States you've got 4 years of high school, and you could fail maybe one year and go back for like a 5th year or something, but you don't get to last in hip hop much longer than that. You always got to have the new class matriculate in. You got to leave school at some point. That seems to be it. So, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for letting me show off different types of game design. Take a look at some of these games. Take a look at the free quick starts as well for these games. Crown and Skull has one. It's already up to volume 2. I believe he promised 5 volumes of this. It's going to be very expensive on my shelf. Guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I'll talk to you later. Tomorrow. Peace. Bye.